Before we watched TV shows and movies on Narcos, and even before Pablo Escobar's rise to fame, there was one man who was the ultimate narco. He lived the narco life of greed, money, and power, but found a way to reclaim his life and use his astonishing experiences to empower others to live a life of hope, meaning, and redemption. Welcome to the Narco Mindset Podcast, where Dr. Jorge Valdes shares his journey through life before and after the Medellin drug cartel, from torture and multiple prison sentences to how he refocused his life onto a path of principles learned as a narco. It's time to share that raw truth with you, right here on the Narco Mindset Podcast, with your host, Dr. Jorge Valdes.
Today on the Narco Mindset Podcast, there's a lot of people that will die because they have no money. My biggest message is, fear not, this too shall pass. We lost over 500,000 suicides. We lose tons of drug addicts.
Graduation was something that we were all really looking forward to. I'm missing just school in general, which I never thought would be a thing I would say. And there's a whole nother 4 years of a new life that we'll have to experience with new people and new friends that we'll love dearly.
Well, your generation, I believe, is going to make an enormous impact in the world. One of the best expression of your faith, whether you're Jewish, Muslim, or Christian, whatever you call it, the greatest expression of faith is love. Welcome to the Narco Mindset Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Jorge Valdes, and I have a special guest today to do something that I think is interesting. I think it's something that will really help a lot of people. I am recording this podcast with my daughter, Isabela Valdes. And as we look at this coronavirus and how it's totally disrupted our lives, one of the things that we really don't think a lot about is the way that it's disrupted the life of young people. Whether it's senior graduating from college or high school, it's become a different world for them. It's something that they have worked really very sad, because it's something that they have worked so hard for so long. And all of a sudden, they're not even going to get to graduate. They won't get to go to a prom, which actually makes me very, very happy. You know, I was a big prom fan when I had boys and myself, even though I was too poor to go to a prom. But once you have daughters, then it changes drastically. So you're really not very happy about prom. But you know, listen, we all need to be socially conscious. We all need to look at the world that we're in, which is different. And we need to realize that we need to do what is responsible. You know, wash your hands, keep social distancing. But besides that, you go on and live and you adapt. For me, it's very easy to adapt. I mean, I live in a 4,000 square foot house. I got my wife that I adore, my children that I adore. I got a big, big screen TV. I spend all day writing, reading. It's actually very easy to stay quarantined for 60 days or 3 years, because involuntarily the feds quarantined me for 10 years in a 3x8 with no wife, one common TV. Someone tell me what time to get up, what time to go to bed, what time to eat. So I think that if this is something that's going to happen a lot, maybe perhaps every male should go through jail for at least a year. No, really about 3 years, because the first 2 years you cry like a little girl. And then the third year you realize you better stop crying because nothing's going to change. You're going to stay in there. And then you adapt. We human beings adapt. It doesn't affect me a lot. But another thing that is really sad, we have a lot of media people that are very wealthy. They make a lot of money. And they, in my mind, they have spent unbelievable amounts of time to scare the living daylights out of us. We live in a world of panic. And I know that people say lives are more important than the economy. And I say that too. But it's easy because I don't have to worry about how I'm going to pay the rent or how I'm going to eat. But there's a lot of people that the economy, if something isn't not done and we can get this country back operating, there's a lot of people that will die because they have no money. Yeah, in reality, death and the economy are very correlated to each other. It's really simple when you're a big movie star and say, stay home. And I mean, I'm sure they mean well. Their refrigerator is full. They got people go out there and get all the stuff that they need. They got this big old mansion that's like Disneyland. So it's easy for them to say, stay home. But how about that person that is trying to feed his baby? How about that person that's wondering how he's going to eat every day? So besides making aware that the fact that for me, my biggest message is, fear not, this too shall pass. I rode a 3x5 car when I went to prison. My father said to me crying one day, leaving the visiting room, and said, son, no matter what happened, they can't stop the clock from ticking, and this too shall pass. So I rode a 3x5 car that I kept with me for many, many years. And whenever I felt a little depressed or I felt a little down, I wrote it down and it said, this too shall pass. 10 years passed. I was released. I went back. Life didn't stop while I was in. Life didn't stop when I got out. Everything became all right. I did whatever I had to do. I worked my butt off in prison. I took the measurements that I had to take to better myself, to become a better person. So perhaps, this time let's look at the good of the virus. And then let's look at the fact that there's so much in life that we take for granted. No one would have ever imagined that a simple virus, not a nuclear bomb, will bring this country to its knees. But in a matter of 2 months, not this country, the entire world came to its knees. I'm going to promise you this. In the next 10 years, this virus will not kill 890,000 people. And where do I get that number from? That's the amount of young Americans that will die of a drug overdose. Why are we not alarmed about that? Why are we not alarmed out of the millions of people dying of AIDS? Why are we not alarmed that in the last, since January 1st to March 25th, 2,300,000 people around the world died of hunger? Hunger. Think about that. Of no food. Now, I can tell you how that feels because I stayed in that jail in Panama for 28 days without being fed. And hunger is a bitch. Why don't we look at those things? We lost over 580,000 to drunk drivers. We lost 1 million something to smokers. We lost over 500,000 suicides. We lose tons of drug addicts. The world's difference change. I take it. I pray. The great gift that this has given me is that I get to see my daughter who's about to go to college in 3 months. Get to see her every day now. But it has changed her life. It has changed her life quite a bit. Thank God that she chose to go to Wheaton College, and she has made amazing friends already that are going to Wheaton College. They spend a lot of time talking to each other. And these are very, very godly, holy kids. So I welcome my daughter, Isabela Valdes, to the podcast, and I want to hear her point of view of how has this... Well, let me give you a little precedent before that. When my daughter was in question, she was doing homeschool. She didn't do very good with homeschool. She's like me. She's a social beaver. And homeschool was not a great thing to her, but she's used to it. She knows. She did it for 2-3 years.
2.5.
2.5 years. So she's used to it. But there's other things that she can tell us more about is how does it feel that she's worked so hard for that graduation and that proud moment when she walked that out and receives her diploma and whatever other medals they would give you. And then the prom. And then that passage from a high school kid to a college kid. So Isabela, tell us how in your eyes the virus has affected you and what are you doing to cope with it so that hopefully some kids that are out there that are not in your circumstance but are still wondering what they need to do can help them.
Well, the virus has affected me in really a number of ways. For me, and it's been difficult really not to see all my friends, especially at this last stretch of our senior year in high school, because this is truly probably the last time any of us will see each other for a good long while. So not being able to see them or to hang out with them has taken its toll, as I can imagine it's taken its toll on many other girls or boys my age and going through the same thing, as well as even though I'm used to this online kind of curriculum, it is different with my new school, and it's just a different process. Seeing all the teachers kind of struggle with it as well and struggle to teach their classes in the way they would want to because there are infringements with this online program. But there are, amongst others, like the graduation and prom. Prom is really fun, but for me, and I know for a lot of my friends, graduation was something that we were all really looking forward to because it's kind of this closing chapter of our lives, and to have that kind of up in the air and not really knowing whether or not it's going to happen or not is really a struggle for all of us because we've worked so hard for 4 years to have that graduation and to have that closing ceremony to kind of close this chapter of our lives, and to not know if or when that's going to happen is definitely a struggle. And we also, like my school, and I know a lot of other schools, have so many senior traditions that kids since their freshman year have been looking forward to and have been maybe even planning on what they're going to do for those traditions. And to have those canceled or to have those just kind of taken away from them is definitely tough. But for me, I was really blessed to have my new college, meeting all those people through Facebook really, and then having the opportunity to talk to them and to talk with them about what they're going through and how their schools are dealing with the situation and how their schools are also canceling all this kind of bonded us a lot. And I've really kind of leaned on them heavily and leaned on their support because they've just been super supportive of everything that I've been going through and everything that we've been going through. So it's really nice to have them as kind of my support system. Talk to whenever I just feel like I'm missing my friends or I'm missing just school in general, which I never thought would be a thing I would say. But I do definitely miss having that kind of community with my friends in high school and being able to see them every day, which I never really thought about until it was taken away from me. So I kind of took it for granted in a way if I look back now, and I definitely miss seeing those people and being around my teachers, because a lot of my teachers were really amazing people and they taught me a lot of really good things, and a lot of them made me who I am today. So not being able to see them and not even really giving them a proper goodbye was definitely a rough situation, because technically, even though this virus has been going on, we all thought we were going to go back at some point, being mid-April. But what we're looking at now and how the situation is progressing and getting worse and worse by the day, it's more and more looking that the rest of our semester will be canceled.
So, Isabela, one thing, tell us a little about the new friends that you have met that are going to be freshmen of Wheaton College. You can say their names and where they're from. The good thing about technology is that now we can stay in communication. Well, I always say two things. Technology brings far away friends close and puts close friends far away. Through technology, she's got friends coming to Wheaton College from all over the world. One of the things that I really want to applaud Wheaton College for is I saw where Harvard went ahead, and the minute they closed, they kicked out all the international students. A lot of these kids depended upon that salary that they would have at the school to even live and for their families to have a roof. And I read about how many of them are homeless. Here's a university with $60 billion endowment. Fired all the cafeteria people, fired all the workers. You know, if you're charging $75,000, $80,000 tuition, man, I mean, I hope that Harvard gets really hammered. Everybody thinks it's the greatest thing in the world. But honestly, you know, in today's world, and I tell a lot of kids, don't get sold out by that Ivy League bullshit. At the end of the day, you're going to become who you're going to become at whatever school you go to. Yeah, you might get prestige because you went to Harvard, but at the cost of what? Hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt. And at the end, they don't care. Wheaton has a lot of international students. And yet what they did, they kept housing them because these kids can go home. They can go back to China. They can go back to South Korea, Africa, all the European countries. So they stayed. And Wheaton housed them. So big applause for Wheaton. But tell us about your friends from all over the world that you just met.
I've been meeting a lot of different people, but some of the people who have really impacted me and supported me through these past few months, really, because I really started talking to them semi-recently, that being one of my friends, his name is Ian Wellington. He lives in Hong Kong. He wants to be a pastor, and he's just really, really articulate with his faith, and he's honestly inspired me a lot to discover more about my faith and what drives me in my faith. So he's really just been a really good support system for me in terms of just testing my faith and seeing how strong I am in my faith and what I can learn more about Jesus and more about the Bible through him. And so another one of my friends, his name is Ethan. He's from Wisconsin, and they've really been not only supporting me, but they just make me laugh a lot. They're very funny people. And along with my roommate, Liliana, but we call her Lily. She lives in Rhode Island. She's amazing. She's one of the sweetest, kindest people I've ever met. And along with Ella Wickham, she lives in Michigan, and she's just one of the most beautiful, funny people. She's always, every morning, she sends me either a text or a Snapchat saying good morning or saying hello. And whenever I need her, whenever she feels that I'm feeling down or something, I know she'll always be there for me and be there to support me. So all these people have really impacted my life and really changed it in a way as being people who I know I can depend on, even though I really have never met these people in real life. But we've all just immediately formed such a strong bond in this short amount of time that we've known each other. And we all know that one of us ever needs anything, or if we're ever feeling down and in need of support, we will always have each other's backs. So it's really nice to have that support system with these kids, because I really do care for them deeply. And I really do love how they will support me no matter what, and will support me in whatever I decide to do.
So how does Ethan, the kid in Hong Kong, how is school in Hong Kong been different for him, or what are they going through as far as the thing you struggle with or you miss compared to him being in a foreign country?
Well, technically, Ian actually graduated last year, so he graduated a year early, so he kind of escaped from all this. So he's been taking a gap year this year where he's actually been working at his local church. But a lot of the things, he was actually supposed to minister a service this past Sunday, but it was canceled because of the coronavirus and because of the safety precautions Hong Kong is taking. So a lot of it has impacted him in a lot of ways, because not only is he seeing how his work is being hindered through his church because of this virus, but he also has friends who are currently graduating, and he's seeing that toll that it's taking on them and that impact that it's taking on their schooling. He really can see it from both ways, as someone who's already graduated and from someone who has friends who are still about to graduate.
It's as I hear the stories about these kids, these amazing kids, it really brings joy to my heart because number one, you feel that we're so down on this generation. And I was telling one of the young men, I said, the whole world's so down on your generation, but your generation, I believe, is going to make an enormous impact in the world because you do have great kids that are committed to their faith. They're great kids that love people. One of the best expression of your faith, whether you're Jewish, Muslim, or Christian, whatever you call it, the greatest expression of faith is love. How do you treat people? Is your faith attractive to others because you are attractive? And I'm not talking about physically, but I'm talking about behavior and the positive ways that they look at the world. I haven't seen my daughter get depressed. My wife and I thought at the beginning that it might happen a little bit because of all the things that she said that she missed. But, her faith is carrying her through. And I'm glad for this young man that's helping her build her faith longer because you know what they say, no prophet has honor in his own home, even though I don't consider myself a prophet. Maybe sometimes I do. I see that they talk about things that are positive. And this generation has a different conscience that my generation did not have. And I'll be honest with you. I tell my middle son, who is just so successful, has worked so hard, I say, you have such an advantage over my generation because my generation, we all worked full-time and went to school full-time. And everybody was the same. The field was equal. Everybody wanted to succeed. And we have a generation right now that really a lot of kids don't want to work. They feel like, if they go full-time to school, that's too much. Some will stay in school because they don't want to get a job. So therefore, I throw my kids under what I call the bugle call. And that was real simple. When the oldest man in the house got up, everybody got up. And the sad part was I get up at 5 o'clock, so they're screwed. So when I did the bugle call, they all got up. So I told Alex, I said, now look at the advantage you got. You know how to get up early. You know how to work hard. So you're going to have a leap of advantage over a lot of people your age. But at the same time, this younger generation, because of the way they use technology and the way that they communicate, have the ability and the social conscience that they have. That's something that I really admire. I always felt bad for poor people because I was poor one time. But I didn't have that social conscience where I wanted to change the world. I wanted to make everybody equal. I was just concerned about succeeding. I wanted to be a millionaire. I wanted to be rich because I equated being rich and a millionaire with being important. So that's all I really care about, to be honest. Yeah, I helped everybody that I could. And every Friday I used to give out $50,000 a week. That's because I was making $1 million a month. And giving up $50,000, $10,000, $20,000 make me look good. But I was giving out of my excess. I was not giving out of my needs. If it meant that I had to go there Friday to help people, to pay for their school, to pay for their birth, to pay for many things that I helped pay for, it meant that I wouldn't have enough money for my jet. Well, the poor is just going to have to stay poor because I was going to fly my jet. Well, this generation is different. This generation really feels doing things that are socially conscious. They care about the environment. They care about creating a different world. They care about people's rights and they care about humanity. Those of us that hear all the time, this generation is so lost. Listen, when we were young, we were just as lost. The thing about it was that nobody found out about it. Today, they can't help but to find out about it. So it excites me. It excites me to see this generation and to see how they're facing challenges like this. Another area that I wanted to ask Isabela is about how do you look at this virus does it scare you? Does it concern you? Or how does your faith impact the way you look at your virus or the way you've been brought up in a home that has a father that always preaches, fear not. There's no fear here. Listen, fear when you fall off an airplane. Fear when you get shot out 20 times. Fear when the federal government is going to lock you up and give you life. That's fear. Death didn't matter. And I was going to hell. So now that I believe I'm going to go to heaven, so I fear not death. And I feel like, hey, when my day comes, it comes. Like I tell my kids, listen, when it's your day, even if you get out of the way, it's going to come. When it's not your day, even if you get in the way, it's not going to come. So how do you look at this virus as it relates to how we've seen how the world is so scared?
I don't think I was ever really petrified of this virus, but definitely when it was over in Europe, I was not truly, or in Asia, I was not really afraid of it or its consequences. But when it did come over to the US, I was still kind of, okay, I see it's definitely becoming a threat, but it still hasn't hit home for me. But then when it came down to Florida, then I did feel a little spooked, to say the least, to like see that, okay, this virus, it's near my home. I have members in my family who would be greatly impacted if they were to contract this virus. So I think the fear started to settle in a little bit, but I feel that my faith and through my friends that have helped me a lot, like Ian, Ethan, Ellen, Lily, and this girl Sid, I feel like they have really helped me kind of overcome that fear and stay grounded and not let that fear overcome me or overcome my thoughts, and just kind of be aware that this virus is a threat and that we do need to take precautions against it, such as social distancing or anything like that, but not to let it overcome my mind or overcome all my thoughts and to make me think only about this virus and nothing else. So I definitely see it as a threat, and I understand it's a very impactful virus, but I do feel that in terms of my family and my household, it has not quite overtaken that fear, and I haven't been consumed by it, but I'm aware it's definitely a threat.
You know, I told a friend of mine, he says, does it scare you because you're 64, you're at that age? I said, oh my God, if the way that God decides to take me is through a virus, I just think it's the biggest joke he ever played. Because, listen, I've been in a car that was shot 28 times. I looked at the car and it looked like a strainer and nothing happened. I fell off an airplane at 5,000 feet. I lived. I was tortured for 20 some odd days where I bled for 5 years every time I pissed, and I lived. I survived. I went into a prison in Tallahassee at the age of 23 that they call it gladiator school because there was so many stabbings, and I lived and survived. So if it's my time to come, hey, I'm ready. You know, I tell my kids, don't cry for me, cry for you. So I'm going to be perfectly fine. I saw in Facebook where this dog created a new channel called Some Good News, SGN. I said, well, I'm going to replace, I don't watch it anymore. I'm going to replace CNN for SGN, Some Good News. Yeah, the hospitals are overburdened, but a friend of mine who manages a hospital said to me, the truth of the matter is, yes, we have a lot of cases, but he said, George, the problem was that 85% of all our beds were already filled before we had the first coronavirus. Because the hospitals, like every business in America, has become very, very efficient. And because they are very, very efficient, they don't have more beds that they need. So they figure out, algorithms that, hey, we're going to need 100 beds a year, and that's all they have. So all of a sudden, when those beds that we needed for regular things, most of them are taken up, our excess was very, very little. So that's why we have this overburden. Yeah, the numbers are peaking. Why can't we test it more? I talked to my friend, Julio Franco, the ball player, who's in Korea, and people there are not scared. Why? Because as you drive by, you get tested, and then so people know if they have a problem, they just go home. Now, the world will change. A lot of business, sadly, are going to go out of business. A lot of business that were barely surviving are going to go out of business. People are going to realize all of a sudden that don't rely on the stock market. It doesn't mean nothing. Don't rely upon anything in life. Life is a fleeting moment. You're here today and gone tomorrow. So the world changed. For me, I just faced it with a lot of courage, surmount it with success, because my faith enlightens me. My faith enlightens me. I never feared in my life, so I'm not going to fear now. I'm going to do now. Don't get me wrong. I will do what the authorities tell me to do. If they tell me to stay home, well, I'm home most of the time anyways. If they tell me to wash my hands, I wash my hands all the time anyways. If they tell me to stay 6 feet away from people, I could do that for the rest of my life because probably 99% of the people you encounter, you don't even like anyways. So it's easier to stay 6 feet away from them. And, you don't do stupid things. I do that. But after I've done that, I don't want to hear the damn news telling me, how bad things are, how the world's coming to an end. The world ain't coming to an end. And if it comes to an end, who gives a damn? If we all going to die, well, we had fun. We lived X amount of years, and that's just life. We all die. I'm not saying that we want to die, and I'm not saying that people should just accept that they want to die. No, get me right. Do what is right. Do what is socially responsible. And at the end of the day, if you are a person of faith like I am, I believe that I'm going to only go the day God's going to take me home, period. And when that day comes, if heaven's supposed to be so much better than earth, and listen, when I first went to prison and had just become a Christian, I was really, really excited one day when I read this verse in the Bible that says, eyes have not seen the mansion that I have prepared for you. And I said, damn, Jesus. Man, boy, I've lived in some fancy mansions. I lived in $20, $40 million homes. Man, I have seen a lot of glitter. I've seen a lot of beauty. That one up there is a lot better. Well, I can't wait. Now, I'm in no rush to get there, trust me. So I'm going to ask my wonderful daughter to give us some parting words for her generation. And again, fear not. Turn off the news. Use this time to play Monopoly. When we came from Cuba, that's all we had. That was the first luxury we bought. And we had a great time. No TV, no record player, no radio. And we lived and we enjoyed each other as a family. So do board games. Don't do Uno if you suck like I do. And my two hoodlum kids and my hoodlum wife, are constantly beating me.
Or don't play Monopoly where your father just destroys you in every single game.
Play Monopoly
Don't play Monopoly.
Where I'm a businessman and I know how I can manipulate them so they build them nice hotels and tax the hell out of them.
No, because then it's just a quick death and it's not fun anymore.
Don't let this stupid virus, this too is going to pass. Go about your life. Do what is socially responsible. Look out for others. Pray more. Rest more. And enjoy your family. Enjoy your kids, man. That's the greatest gift that we have. They're going to grow. My little baby girl is going to grow and leave. See, at least now every time I used to think about her leaving, in a few months I used to cry. Now I know she's going to be here for a while.
Well, you do have your pre-crying face on.
It's just exciting to see that. Listen, it's just a new life. Isn't that exciting? Life changes. We'll change with it. We're very adaptable human beings. Trust me. I never thought at the age of 23 I could lay in the floor of Panama jail and get my butt kicked day and night, electricity to my testicles and survive. I did. I thought I would die by the age of 30. No doubt in my mind. I will not live past 30. I'm 64, so I got 34 bonus years. We're going to die. Have faith. Trust God. For me, that's how I feel. I believe He's not going to give me more than I can handle. I can handle a lot. And you too. But fear not. Because fear is going to give you depression. Fear is going to get you sick. Fear is going to make you live in agony. And at the end of the day, after you do what you're supposed to do, there's nothing else you can do. What we need to do is fear for those poor people that are really getting hurt, that have no food to feed their family, have no roof over their heads, and applaud all these new heroes that we have. Those first responders, those nurses and doctors. They got family. They got kids. Every day they go to work, they put their families at risk for you and I. So fear not. I'm going to let my daughter close us with words of wisdom for her generation. And this has been exciting. I'll bring her up when it's all over so that we can see how her attitude had changed.
I'd just like to say to people who are my age, younger or older, that don't let this virus overtake your mind or overtake your thoughts. Focus on what you have around you, whether that be family, whether that be friends, or even your dog or cat. Focus on what you have around you and what you have in the present. Find maybe new hobbies or new things about yourself that you didn't know before. Take time to just sit down or meditate or read or just do something that won't cause you fear or won't cause you stress, like watching the media or watching TV will do. So just take some time to yourself. Know that we'll get through this. At some point, it will be over. We will recover. This won't go on for the rest of our lives. And even though, yes, a lot of our senior traditions or a lot of our senior events that we've been looking forward to for years may be canceled or may be postponed, we'll get through this. And even though they might not happen, there's a whole future waiting for us. And there's a whole nother 4 years of a new life that we'll have to experience with new people and new friends that we'll love dearly. And that we will miss our old friends, yes, but they will miss us. We will miss them. But we will move on from this chapter of our lives and we'll find new people and we'll still be friends with those people no matter what. But I just wanted to say that this is something that if this will end, this will eventually it will be over and we will all get through this one way or another. So just don't let that fear overtake you or overtake your mind. Focus on your family, focus on your friends, have those people as a support system to help and guide you through this process so that they can give you the strength and the wisdom to really navigate this virus and to navigate it through a healthy mentality and a healthy state of mind. I just wanted to give a shout out to my friends Ian, Ethan, Ella, Lily, and Sid. I just want to thank you all for supporting me through everything. I don't know what I would do without your support and your help. And I love you all very, very dearly.
So thank you so much for listening to the Narco Mindset podcast today. If you've enjoyed having my daughter here with me, email me about it. Just don't tell me to get off the microphone and just let her do the podcast because she's probably better than me.
You should do that. You should definitely do that.
Probably reaches a lot more people than me. And again, if you enjoy the podcast, tell your friends about it, share it. We're trying to make a difference in the world. We're trying to make this world just a little better. We're trying to bring you a positive message every week. We're trying to bring awareness to the things that we really need to bring awareness. Pray for all those prisoners that have no choice to be socially separated, that are stuck in prison, that are so overcrowded to begin with, that if one gets sick, they all automatically get sick. So pray for the prisoners, pray for the health workers, pray for all those, and do something nice. When this is all over, do something nice for those cashiers that sat there and had people, all kinds of people not knowing if they were afflicted or not, just so that we could have groceries. For all the truck drivers, we don't think about them very much, but they're out there on the road away from their families. trying to bring our produce and bring our groceries and the essential items that we need. So if you have enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and tell your friends about it. Go to our webpage, www.jorgevaldesphd.com, and join our community. Once you join our community, it will automatically send you a PDF of my latest book, Narco Mindset, Freedom Edition. Be blessed, be a good share, fear not, be strong, get closer to family, love each other, and we'll see you next week on the Narco Mindset Podcast.
We've come to the conclusion of this episode of the Narco Mindset Podcast, but your path towards hope, meaning, and redemption continues. For more information and resources to help you on your path towards finding a life built on integrity, honor, and truth, head to JorgeValdesPhD.com and join our community. We appreciate you joining us for this episode and look forward to helping you find your turning point right here on the Narco Mindset Podcast.